And my number is 6366944.
Fantastic. And have you been in front of the parole board before?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, let me just explain how it's going to work, okay? So to get us started, this is the three-member panel of the Board of Parole. My name is Renee Schulte. On this side of me is Jesse Rincon, and on this side of me is James Moses. And we're the three-member panel that's going to do your decision this morning. But before we get started, we want to remind you that this is a public Zoom, meaning that the public or the media could be listening in, but they're not going to participate today, okay? We also want to remind you that in the course of the interview, you might talk about some confidential information, including but not limited to things like your medical history, your treatment history, mental health history, things like that. Do you understand what we're going to do today?
Yes.
And you want to go ahead with the interview?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so the way it's going to work is the three of us are going to ask you some questions. We're just going to ask you to do your best and tell us what we're asking for. After we're done with questions, we're going to turn it over to you. You'll have time to tell us anything you want, anything you prepared, anything you don't think we asked that we should know. You'll have time to talk, okay? And then after that, we go into what we call deliberations or making a decision. So you'll be able to see us and hear us, but it won't be time for you to talk. And then I come back at the end and explain exactly what we're going to do today by the time we're done. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Okay, so to kick us off, why don't you start with talking to us about the crime itself, what happened, and what was going on in your life at the time?
It's kind of hard to explain because I really don't know how to explain what was going on in my life at the time. I mean, I lost my father-in-law, I lost my nephew, I lost my a best friend, all within, like, it seemed within months of each other, but more than likely it was probably a year. It just seemed like it was all ran together, I should say. I can't. I just don't know. Well, I don't know why I did what I did. I don't know why I woke up that morning and did what I did. I have a hard time trying to figure that out for my own self. So, it's just, it was a lot of stuff at one time, it seemed like. And that it was just really hard to process and try to get through it, I guess.
Okay, so can you talk about the crime itself a little bit and tell us what happened?
I was drinking, and then I was drinking like the whole weekend. I think the crime happened on a Monday, and I was drinking heavily, I do believe. And I was running an errand and drinking and driving at the same time. And I rear-ended the victim at a stoplight. And I remember the victim getting out and looking at the damage, and I went to get out and I wasn't in park, and I rolled into her and I backed up, and I thought I went and I put it in drive, or not in drive, but in park, and instead I was in drive, and I hit her again, and I was scared. And I remember the officer that arrived gave me a breath test, and I can't remember what exactly the number was or anything like that. I think it was like 3.2 something. It was well over. And I just remember asking them if she was okay, how was she? And they kept on telling me they couldn't tell me. They couldn't tell me. When they took me to the police station, I kept asking about them.
Can you guys hear her?
And finally they said she was stable. And I kept
welcome back, Kimberly.
Asking. I was scared. I couldn't believe I did what I did.
Okay, thank you. And so it sounds like you had a lot of alcohol that particular weekend, but what is your history with alcohol? Have you been an alcoholic for a long time? What was your usage up to that point?
I was an alcoholic until that happened, honestly. And then I went to counseling as soon as that, when that happened. I started going to counseling and meetings, and it was it was Prelude, I do believe is the place that was called, and then I realized I had a problem. You know, and it runs in my family
Yeah, it did one.
and I just didn't think I didn't think it was me. I didn't think I had a problem. Then I went to counseling, and then my husband also drank, but then like shortly after the incident happened, he had got really sick with COVID and got influenza A, and he was on not life support, but he was on a respirator for a week.
Thank you so
He
much.
had died in the ambulance going to the hospital, and he was a heavy drinker as well. And he immediately stopped, and he hasn't drank since. So I mean, I just don't, I can't forgive myself for any of that.
Damn.
For what I did to the victim, for what I did to my family. It's hard for me to forgive myself. So.
For anybody
Thank you for
wondering,
answering that. So one
this
more
is
question
Iowa,
then. How long do
and
you
it's
think
live.
you've been without alcohol? How long can you go as far as being sober? How long of a time have you been?
This whole time. And this is one thing. I'll never drink again. I know that. Never, ever again. You know, my husband, I think, and I hate to say it, but thank God that what happened to him, because then he stopped drinking as well. So, we can support each other. And our daughter, we have a daughter that's 30 years old. She does not drink, never has. She doesn't smoke. So.
Okay. So let's talk about something a little bit different. So since you've been incarcerated, what have you been doing to spend your time? What kinds of treatment have you done? What types of things have you been involved in?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay.
I did the Prime for Life class. I started working at IPI as soon as I could, as soon as I was able to, as soon as I got out of orientation here. My start date there was, I do believe it was June 28th, 19. I can't believe I just dated myself. I did that to my counselor and she's like, what? 2023. And I've been there this whole time. I started off in embroidery there is for a summer job, for high-vis job. And then I went to the balloons, which was a private sector. Then I went back to imaging, which is the traditional IPI side of things, and I've been there ever since. And I'm a clerk now for embroidery. So,
okay,
I think it's a great job, really.
all right. And my last question is, before you came into the room, we were talking about some certificates that you have and that you've done some stuff with transportation logistics.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us about that and what kind of job you hope to have when you move forward if you go today?
Yeah, I took a class. It was through DMAC here, and it was for logistics, transportation and distribution. And so I completed that class. It was for about 4 weeks. And so I got a certificate I think it's called Certified Logistics Technician, and then also Certified Logistics Associate. And it's dealing with warehouse jobs. And that's what I plan on doing when if I get out and to do with that, because my husband works in a warehouse on it, and he has for the last 20 years. But to me, I just think it's really interesting. I've had an office job. I had an office job for over 20 years. So this is something totally different, and I just think it's going to be a good fit for me.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for answering my questions. I'm going to see now if our colleague has any. Jesse, did you have any additional questions?
Yeah, I have one or two. Good morning. My name is Jesse. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Looking back before the accident, how long would you say you were drinking heavy before this incident happened?
Probably about a year before.
About a year.
I want to say COVID hit, and when COVID hit, I didn't have to work I worked at Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino, so they shut down because of COVID. And so you didn't have anything to do. I didn't have anything to do. So it escalated from that. And then backing up. Oh,
Okay. And then you took the 321J. What was the most impactful thing you took away from that class?
that honestly, that class is what made me realize I was an alcoholic. Some of the class was very good, but it was also the teacher, one of the teachers, I want to say. She told a story about her father and how he was like a functioning alcoholic, and I didn't realize I was that until she told me her story. That story, and I realized that's what I was.
Is that what helps you stay sober today, is realizing what it brought you then?
Yeah, it really does. That,
Thank you. And then you're hoping to get on at B&G Foods, is that correct?
yes, I am. I had to make a resume for the first time in 30 years. When I went to the Iowa Workforce Development here, the gentleman, he was funny. He goes, well, and I told him, I said, it's been about 30 years. And he goes, well, nobody really cares what you did in 1987. And I said, well, in 1987, I was working at Hardee's. I met my husband. And he started laughing. So that's what I plan on doing, because we were looking at some jobs, and I know this is going to be a felony on my record. And so I was trying to find something that would be friendlier for that with my record.
That's good. I have no more questions. Thank you for answering the ones I did have. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. James, did you have anything?
Just one.
Okay.
How you doing this morning, Ms. Craig?
I'm good.
That's good. My one question to you, having to complete the 321J program and getting some classes and groups to help better you today than you were yesterday. If you were to characterize who Terry Craig is today, then from what we knew or didn't know of Ms. Craig in the past, what could you tell us about Terry Craig today as you potentially prepare for transitioning to this new employment and future endeavors, if that makes sense?
Christy, gracias.
It's a very good question. It's a very hard question. I think it's always hard when you have to try to sell yourself, so to speak, you know, and I know I'm a very hardworking individual. I'm very honest. I just know I'm a good person, you know, and I believe in myself a lot more now. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
You know, 3 years ago, I have a lot more faith in myself, a lot more confidence that I can do stuff. Even though I did what I did, but I'm better than that. I know I'd be a good employee, you know, a good employee. Sorry.
No,
It's
please.
a very tough question.
No. The thing that I will share with you that come across, and it's been coming across since you've been speaking to us this morning, is that I get a sense of humility. And that's what I'm coming away with from your sharing. So that was my question. Thank you.
All right. Any follow-ups, Jesse?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Craig, now's the time. If there anything you want us to know or to think about before we go into our decision-making process.
Do you guys feel like they should
Honestly,
let her
I
out?
can't think of anything.
Okay.
Just know that I'll never. I'm not an awful monster. I feel like I was that day, and I'm not. That's not who I am. So, I'm sorry. I don't have anything else.
Okay. Are you sure? Nothing else?
No.
Okay. Well, just sit back and take a deep breath. We're going to talk amongst ourselves, and I'll be right back with you. All right, board, who would like to go first?
Buenos dias, good morning, have a nice day.
Thank
Gracias,
you.
highly appreciate it.
You know, as I was sharing with her, I felt humility coming across, but also felt the willingness to of wanting to continue to be better and still is remorseful and has some regret from what took place that led her to this incarceration. I thought the interview was good. I thought she did a good job of just trying to share what was her past and what is potentially her future with having a new opportunity, new resume. She says she hasn't done that since in the late 80s. Yeah, so having to experience new endeavors is always going to be always going to provide that newness in terms of what's the unknown. So with that being said, I am in agreement with DOC's recommendation. We can discuss and look at if we want to implement the 20B. It's not necessarily a big factor, but just something to consider. The 40A with substance abuse, but also some mental health. I think there's some grieving still that is there, and just being able to continue her efforts and having some support to discuss and talk through those traumatic experiences that she's had as she's continuing to recover and getting better. And then also the 50A.
All right, thank you.
Right.
Jesse, thoughts?
Thank you. Yeah, what really resonated with me is she said it's hard to sell yourself, and I really believe that's a true statement. It's hard to sell yourself and stay humble at the same time. And James said it. I felt the humility as well in her interview. I think she has prepared herself the best she can, and she's up to 73% of time being served at this time, and I think I can support this release as well to her husband's house with the same codes that James had mentioned.
Okay, so we have a 40A for substance use, mental health, and a 50A.
And for the substance abuse mental health. Yeah, yep.
Okay. All right, I will deliver my decision as we deliver the whole decision. Okay, so Ms. Craig, I'm also in agreement with the department's recommendation for parole today. For those online, we have reviewed everything in the file, including completed treatment, minutes of testimony, letters of correspondence, achievements, certificates, parole. You really have done a nice job of using your time well, and we want to make sure that you are aware that we appreciate that and we noticed. So thank you for all your hard work since you've been there. You also don't have a long criminal history, and this is clearly a large mistake that happened in your life. And so we hope that you can move forward and do the best you can, recovering from this. But to do that, we're going to add a couple additional things to the standard conditions of parole. Not that many, but we're going to ask in the treatment field for you to go ahead and continue your work in substance use and figure out what that's going to look like and just get support on the outside. If they determine you don't need any other support, you don't have to keep going. The same with your mental health. Hopefully you can have somebody to talk to deal with the grief and the loss that you felt through this. And again, if they decide you don't need that, you won't have to continue that either. And then finally, there's going to be an alcohol prohibition, which just makes sense based on the history and the crime itself. That means you can't be hanging out in bars and liquor stores where it's primarily served. You can go to restaurants that does have it on available to drink, but just don't be drinking it yourself or hanging out in those locations. Okay, so congratulations on your release today, and go out and do well.
Thank you.
Good luck, Ms. Craig. Good luck.
Good luck, Ms. Craig.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, if you haven't done so, please do so. Go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and hit those hearts. And also, if you could follow, we would highly appreciate here at Collect Call From. And just so you're aware, this is real. This is actually taken in real time right now. If you go to the Iowa Board of Parole, this is what you're going to be watching. Good morning from, let me see, Quebec. Let me see right here. Jenga. Wait, aren't you usually the guy playing Fortnite? Nope, not me. I never played Fortnite in my life, if you will. Anyhow. Okay, Olivia, good morning. Buenos dias. Let's see who's up next. In the state of Iowa, they don't let you know, or they don't have a calendar. So Christy's laughing. Is California Parole Board live also? No, it is not, man. I wish RN 805 What did she do? She caught a DUI, and I think somebody might have got hurt in the accident, if you will, if you want to call it that.
Good morning, Adam.
Morning, how are you?
Good, thank you. Is there anything new on the evaluation that you submitted that we didn't know?
For Albria, I have Albria and Tam.
I have Harris, yes.
Harris. Okay. Nope, I reviewed everything again this morning. No changes to her plan. She is a diversion to the 8th district, and that was approved by Mary Roach. So we've discussed that with her at length, and she's been accepted to the Ottumwa work release.
Thank you. Colleagues, you have any questions?
I don't.
You can go ahead and bring her in.
Hey,
Sounds good, thank you.
what do you guys think
and-
she did before she gets here, or before they start talking about it? What do you think this individual went to prison for? The last individual was DUI. Somebody got hurt. Let's see what the next individual. And you know what? And just something to think about. Everybody goes to prison, not just one type of
Hey,
person.
good morning.
Good morning,
Could you please say your name and your state number for me, please?
Pamela Harris, 111-3296.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. I appreciate that. I'm going to explain the process to you, okay?
Okay,
My name is Jesse Rincon. My colleagues today are Renee Schulte, to my right, and James Moses. Will be conducting your interview today. This meeting is considered to be in a public forum, meaning that the public and the media can listen in, but they cannot participate. We can possibly discuss confidential information such as your mental health, substance abuse, or medical history. Do you understand this, and are you willing to proceed?
yes.
Okay. So how this works is I'll start off by asking you to describe the crime in detail. What was going on in your life at that time and what brought you to prison? After that, my colleagues and myself might have a few questions for you to answer. After you've completed our questioning, I'll ask you if you have anything for the board that you prepared or you want us to know. After you've done that, we'll go into what's called deliberation, meaning we're going to make a decision. At that time, just sit back and listen. Once we've made our decision, I'll come back to you and explain the decision the best I can, okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's start off by taking a deep breath and just start off by telling me what happened that day, what was going on in your life, and just give me the process you went through.
Well, the day that happened, I was like 8.5 months pregnant with 6 kids. I was like lonely, depressed a little bit, had a little anxiety. But the day that my crime occurred, I took my two younger kids to school, my 11-year-old and my 8-year-old to school, and I had my 3 and 4-year-old and Cecilia, my 18-month-old, was home. And they was playing around in my room. I had the smallest room in the house. My daughters was jumping in the bed because, I let them jump in the bed. Cecilia, which is my 18-month-old, she kind of cracked her head off the door where the latch is at. And she was bleeding a little bit. Well, she was kind of bleeding a lot. So I kind of panicked a little bit. I called my sister and asked her, what did she think I should do? She told me to put a cold rag on her head, which I did. And so I changed my sheets and put Cecilia in a bathtub to clean up the blood because there was a lot of blood everywhere. And I got a dry towel and put her in my room. And she had her hands like this. And then when I was putting on her shirt, her chest was kind of caving in a little bit. So I kind of got scared and nervous a little bit. And I tried to give her CPR. Well, I thought I was doing it right. I don't know if I was or not. And then she threw some bio in my mouth. So, and then she passed away. So, I had got my cell phone and called this lady who I knew for a long time, and she watched my kids before for me, and my 8-year-old went to the same school as her kids. And I told her I didn't feel good, and I asked her if she can watch my 3 and 4-year-old and pick my other kids up from school to spend the night. And then after she picked them up, I kind of went in there and I lay with my daughter or whatever. I took a nap or whatever because I was sad. And so I went to sleep for a few hours and just laid there, and I got up
Thank you for
from
the
my
share.
nap and I looked at her for a little bit. And then I went in my front room and I was pacing around a little bit. And I was telling myself that if I called the police, they was going to take my kids away.
Damn.
And I just kept telling myself that. And I went in my front room closet. I said I had to do something because I didn't want them to take my kids away, because my kids was, well, all I had to live for. So I had a pillow, a couch cushion in my closet. And that's what I had went in my room and got my daughter and put her in the couch cushion.
In the couch.
And I
cushion.
had it was a kind of like a little fire pit out in my backyard. And I put my daughter in the pillowcase and
Damn.
went out there and
That's
then
all bad.
I set it on fire.
What?
So when your kids were being picked up, did that person that picked up your children before this incident happened, did they know what happened to your daughter?
Man, that's
No,
bananas.
they asked me, she asked me, was Cecilia coming with me with them? And I said, no, she was asleep. So I was just gonna stay home with her and take a nap, is what I told them.
So at that time, were you trying to process what to do next with the time you had with the children gone?
No, I just wanted to go to sleep, because
What?
when I get stressed out and depressed, I just take a nap, so
Shit, I want all my problems to go away.
I was scared and I didn't know what to do. So I felt like if I took a nap,
You wake up
then
from
maybe
the nightmare.
I could have thought about what I was going to do next. And after I took a nap, I just walked through the house and I, walked back and forth. And I just kept telling myself I didn't want them to take my kids away from me. And I told myself that I had to do something. But before that, I called my
Ashley.
mom and I told her something bad happened and I didn't know what to do. And I was crying really bad. But my mom, she just cried with me. And I got really upset, and because I didn't want her to cry with me. I just wanted her to tell me everything was going to be okay and to give me a little advice, but I hung up on her.
So go ahead.
I hung up on her, and then I chose to do what I did.
So I'm just trying to process why, if your fear was losing your children and you said, they meant the world to you, why not call the authorities and try to have it was an accident. From what it sounds like, it was a pure accident that could have been resolved in a different way. Why didn't you trust that?
I didn't trust that because I was afraid of the DHS from an incident happened with my oldest daughter. And when somebody called her or something happened, then they called a DHS office on me, and then the DHS come into my life. And that's what happened. They come in my life, and to me, I felt like every time somebody called a DHS or something happened to one of my kids, then they tried to take one of my kids, and I felt like my kids was all I had to live for. And I was really, and I didn't want to lose my kids because I told myself that, and this was something like a unrealistic belief that I did have in a fear of me losing my kids, because I told myself that I couldn't live without my kids, but apparently by me being here, that obviously I could live without my kids. So with that being said, I made a poor decision because of the fear of, I didn't want them to take my kids away.
Where are your kids now?
My kids was in foster home, but most of them is grown up. And I got a 14-year-old. She live in South Carolina, and I got a 17-year-old that they stay in Dubuque.
Well, I appreciate you answering the questions
She
I had.
did.
I'm gonna turn it over to my colleagues, see if they have any questions for you, okay?
Yes.
All righty. Renee or James?
How you doing this morning, Ms. Harris?
I'm a little nervous, but I'm all right.
Okay. I saw that you had some contact with Gangster Disciples.
What? G
Is,
Dizzle?
was that who you represented, or was that who you were affiliated with or a part of?
No, sir, I don't, I'm not in the game. So I don't understand how that was in there. That was in my report, because I'm not a gang member.
Okay. Did you have any involvement early on before you were identified?
No, sir.
Okay, no affiliations, hung out with them from where you grew up or anything like that?
But where I grew up, yes, I did. My brother was a gang member, but I was not.
Okay. So was his affiliation with Gangster Disciples?
Yes.
Okay. When you spoke of DHS and you had previous bad experience with DHS, did you think about talking with someone else other than whom you had the bad experience with?
Is that with the DHS? I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, so like DHS has different levels. You have an individual person who works with you or works with maybe your sister, some sort. But then that person has superiors or have other staff that they work with. And you had basically stated that you had some bad experiences, which was my understanding. So was there ever any type of other considerations to talk with someone else through that bad experience? Kind of like what we call a grievance.
Oh, no, sir.
Okay. Okay.
That was a good question he asked.
What I meant by the bad experience,
Thank you, Christy.
like with the DHS,
Thank you for
it
the
was,
share.
I had
Thank
an
Mary's
incident
mama.
with one of my other children, and my oldest daughter got taken away from me, and I
Good
had to
morning,
fight to get her
Krista.
back. And the DHS didn't feel like the children at Lightum, people didn't feel that my daughter should return home, and I fought to get her back. So in Dubuque, they play game, like they call the DHS when they get mad at you, and then they also showed up from the bad experience that I had with them, from something that like involved one of my kids, and one of my baby daddies like fought me, and the DHS had to get involved, and they came into my life. That's what I meant by I had a bad experience, because I felt like when somebody called the DHS office on me, I always thought that they was gonna take my children away from me.
And you know, I really appreciate you sharing that because that extra information helps to provide insight to your experience. Okay. Since you've been incarcerated and grieving about choices and decisions that you made that, you know, resulted from this incident, one question I have for you is that what helps to make you better today than you were prior to being incarcerated?
Good question.
I think that I learned a lot since I've been here, because when I was out in the free world, I had a lot of unrealistic beliefs, and I feel like my pride got in the way of a lot of bad choices and decisions that I made when I was on the outside. And I didn't want to feel like I was weak when I was on the outside, and my pride got in the way, and I was scared to reach out for help when I was on the outs because of the rejection that I was getting. I was afraid of somebody telling me no, and I felt like I wasn't like worthy of somebody helping me out, like within like my family, and I felt like an outsider. So when I reached out for help with my family, either they was either too busy or they didn't have the time, or I had to pay them. And since I've been in here, I learned that it's okay to reach out for help, whether I get rejected or not. If one person say no, then I would just call somebody else and ask them for some help. And I learned it's okay to talk about my feelings, despite of how, if it make me feel ashamed of the choices and the decisions that I made, because I have tried to go to therapy on the outside, and when I try to, they ask me to ask them how I'm feeling about the decisions that I made. And when I try to give my honest opinion of how I was feeling or why I made the choices I made, when the body language changed, it make me feel like I'm being judged. So I cut my answers short and I tell them thank you, and then I left. And I never went to therapy when I've been out here, but since I've been here, I talked to my unit psychiatrist, and I go to medical and talk to a lady named Misty, and I found that it helped me out a lot to talk to somebody and express some things that I've been through throughout my life. Because when I was out there living and taking care of my kids, I didn't know that some of that stuff was still affecting the choices and the decisions that I made. And me talking to somebody and getting it out, as much as I felt like me talking to somebody didn't help, I realized when I was talking to the psychiatrist here that it actually helped me out a lot and helped me like deal with some of the stuff that I was holding on to from my past. And me talking to them, it helped me, you know, like, look at stuff a different way than, you know, to realize that I ain't in control of, you know, nobody else's opinion. I'm only in control of like myself and my actions and reactions of the choices that I made in my life.
Thank you,
Welcome,
Ms. Harris.
Tita.
I appreciate you sharing that because in your comments, I can hear it in you. Some of that work that you have been a part of.
Good morning, Nikki.
And I can see sometimes some difficulty in terms of, you know, that pride that you said that you struggled with, being able to share that amongst individuals, just the sharing alone from your voice is everything. So I appreciate you sharing a little bit with us today. And that concludes my question.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. Renee?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of things. So it looks like you have a history of using some alcohol. Were you using or drinking any time since you were pregnant at that time? Were you drinking any alcohol at the time of this crime?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Alcoholism, I was, well, when I first moved to Dubuque, I was hanging around with some not bad people, but I was hanging around with some negative, not positive people. And well, drinking was one of their things. So that was like kind of, it was like a comfort to me because my mom wasn't the greatest care mom. So I was kind of like a rebellion. I was drinking from when I was 15 up until I was 17 and like a really bad alcoholic until I got pregnant with my first son. And then I kind of stopped drinking.
Okay. Okay. Um, so my background is in behavioral health, mental health, and I've worked a lot with human services. So I 100% understand the story that you told us today about HHS involvement and how that made you feel and all of those kinds of things. But talk to me now that you know something different and you've worked with your psychiatrist, had you had to go back to that day, and I know you've thought this through in your mind, what could you have done differently that would have not resulted where we are today?
Well, if I could go back to that day, the first thing that I would have did, my first decision, instead of calling somebody to come pick up my kids, I would have called the police. I would have called the police and told them what happened, and I would have sit there and waited until they got there. I mean, I know I can't take back that day. I wish I could. And, you know, it hurt me. It hurt me a lot.
Yeah. So it sounds like you did end up through this, you've lost your kids now are either in foster care or have grown up without you. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. So you ended up losing exactly what you were afraid of losing in the way this was handled, correct?
yes.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your future. So since you've been in, you've done a lot of training, you've done a lot of treatment. So can you tell me something that you've done in treatment that you learned, something you learned in treatment, or something that you told me some work already that you've done with a psychiatrist, but what else have you been doing and using your time while you've been incarcerated?
Um, I really learned some really good coping skills. I learned how, you know, like if I get into like a bad situation, instead of me like acting off of my impulse and off of my emotions, I learned some good coping skills, like when I get worked up or if I'm sad or get angry, um, I'd listen to music or I go talk to either my roommate or go talk to a staff member. I normally go down to the medical health services and talk to the nurses. And I like to listen to music or I go walking. Walking was like a really good thing for me to like calm myself down, or I go call one of my children because sometimes I feel like hearing their voices, I don't tell them like nothing I went through or what I was going through. I call them to like recenter myself. And I and then like working, I like working. I work the whole time that I've been here because I like keeping myself busy. I kind of do some community service, so it make me feel good to like help others out, to like be supportive of some people, or like somebody come to me with like advice. I like helping out and like sharing my opinion. Like if it's something that I've been through and I feel like I can help somebody else out, then I choose to like give some people a lot of advice. And I go to church sometimes to, like get a little help and to like, put me in a place where I feel like I need a little encouragement. So I kind of go to the religious service to put me back in a okay place too.
Okay, so speaking of all of that, then what are your plans for support if we were to let you go? What does that look like for you with the community? Who would you use to continue those supports?
I would reach out to my family. I'm going to a new town that I never been to before, which I feel like that'll be good for me for like change. But I would reach out to the community in Ottumwa and reach out to some church services and like lean on my family until I get reestablished back into society.
Okay, and then what type of work would you do if we were to release you?
Well, I know I'm really good at fast food, but I would be looking into some factory work because I'm good at factory too. So I was planning on putting in applications in plastic or JBL, and the psychiatrist told me that is a fast food place called Mike's. So I was going to like reach out to that place too.
Okay, and it looks like you've done some community college classes. Is that something you'd be interested in, is continuing your education?
Well, yes, I would like continue some of that, but I like in the future, but I would prefer to establish like
Mhm.
establishing myself in a community first and obtaining some employment and saving up so I can be be successful and not like struggle a little bit. I want to establish my life just a little bit.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for answering my question. I don't have any.
James, is there a follow-up?
No.
Okay. Ms. Harris, this is the time. If you have anything you want the board to know before we go into deliberation, you have the floor. So if there's anything you want us to know, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to come before you guys, and thanks for just listening to me. And that's it.
Thank you. So just go ahead and sit back. You can hear us deliberate. You don't participate at this time. Once we're done and we come to a decision, we'll come back to you, okay?
Okay.
All right. So
Thank
for
you.
those of you that are asking,
Colleagues.
her child got
All right.
hurt,
I'll go first.
and she didn't
So
call
this is a really,
DHS.
really hard case. And then it's a terrible story about a really, really bad day that culminated in the death of one of our own children and some
There it
other
is.
decisions that were made that day that for most people seem unforgivable and just not explainable. But the history of trauma and all of the other things that have happened with the previous children in the home and the involvement with human services, which looks like fairly extensive involvement with human services, as much as I don't fully understand and can say that I would do
Yes.
the same thing, I can get it. I can understand how we got here today. And it's very sad. It's she was a single mom with a whole lot of kids. Somebody got hurt. It's not like you're going to have the insurance and the ability to take somebody to a hospital when you're not sure what to do. And so some really bad choices of trying to not lose her children. And so in looking at all of this, we can't take that day back. She can't take that day back. She's got a lot of protective factors. She's done tons of work inside. She's completed all of the training that she's been required and then some, including some additional higher level education. She's been working with a psychiatrist and working on her mental health and learning more about herself. And so I am going to be supportive of the work release to the Ottumwa diversion. I know we have to have no contact with minors due to the type of crime that was committed. I also would have mental health on the 40A and substance use evaluation. And then I would add the 50A since there is a history of alcohol abuse. And I think that is it.
Thank you. James?
Yeah, like my colleague was saying, and I was in agreement initially before she stated so eloquently, Just, a lot of, trauma took place that surrounded this incident, but could understand, being 8.5 months pregnant at that time. And then, 6 kids, and just going through having too much pride and having a lot of things is no excuse to make the choices and decisions that she did make. But, in light, you can kind of understand what, was kind of going on through being traumatized. With that, her sharing and the things that she's been able to accomplish inside with furthering education, doing all the things that she can to better herself. I could personally hear it in her that she sounds like someone different and someone who is wanting to do better. And, as she stated, she wants to work herself back into the community that she's looking to transition into. So with that being said, I too am in agreement with DOC's recommendations. I think we're looking at a WRG C11P. Didn't know if that would include a 10B or 10C, So if not, then don't worry about that. But adding the 20A for the minor. The other thing was looking at was the 40A with substance abuse and mental health. Her working with the psychiatrist and continuing to work through the trauma that she experienced that evolves around this incident. The one thing I was thinking about, as my colleague was talking about, since she's looking to transition into the community, I was wondering what your thoughts are with community service, which it could be a good way to get to know people, interact, doing some of that service work and building some relationships that, has not maybe been established for some time. And then I am in agreement with 50A with the history, just as a safeguard, making sure that's in place.
How many hours do you think for community service, James?
I'm agreeable with 40. Nothing that, maybe precludes her from, other opportunities, but just to get that, 5 to, so hours during the week that could be helpful through the transition.
You think, Renee, on that?
I'm in agreement.
Okay. Well, this is like you said, Renee, it was a tough case, but there's a lot of things that probably wouldn't have been highlighted unless you asked her some of them questions. Her treatment, she's done her treatment as we spoke of. Her interview seemed to be very truthful. She's learned some coping skills. She's seen a psychologist. I saw some remorse in her interview. There was a lot going on with the DHS involvement, the prior
Ash, thank you for the
alcoholism, and then the stress of just 6 kids being alone and everything else that goes with that. My roadblocks were there was a lot of stopping points in the incident that could have happened when the child was hurt. She could call it. There's a lot of she could have in those moments, but taking in fact the stressors that was going on in her life. She's been down since 2011. It's a significant time.
14 years.
So I'm going to go ahead and agree with the DOC recommendation on this one with the WRG C11P, the 30A with the being around minors, the 40A with the mental health and substance abuse, the 50A for alcohol prohibition, the 40 hours of community service as well. I just think that she's done what she needs to do, and I don't know if there's any more program that we can put her through at this point. Ms. Harris, I'm going to come back to you. We are going to release you to work release, okay? What you heard us discuss were some of the codes that are going to go along with it. It's the WRG C11P gets you to work release. 30A is you're going to have permission to be around minor children, okay? And that'll go through your PO. The 40A is for substance abuse and mental health. We want you to continue to stay engaged with that. The 50A is alcohol prohibition, no alcohol, period. And we also like you to do 40 hours of community service. And that can be also with your PO. There's various places you can do that at. So you will be released to work release. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I just would like to say thank you.
You're welcome. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go out and do well, Ms. Harris.
Hey guys,
you.
RN, I added you as you have the capability of pinning messages if you want to do that.
Austin, we're going to take 5.
So highly appreciate it if you could do that. Also, I see there's 135 people in here. If you guys could go ahead and get us, get the likes up, get the hearts up to 20,000, so you guys could go ahead and get us to the FYP front of your page. Also, if you haven't done so, please do so. Hit that subscribe button. It's free 99. It's my favorite price. Doesn't cost you anything. I'm not asking for any money. All I'm asking is please share, participate in the chat. Help us, get into the algorithm. And also, if you can, share it. If you know somebody that you think would benefit from this type of stream and whatnot, I would highly appreciate it. Also, we do all kinds of different types of video streaming when it comes to prison. We do prison phone calls, we do video visits, we do prison releases, we do border parole hearings. So we're doing everything that's within the realm of the prison industry, if you will. The name of the channel is at Collect Call From. Check it out on YouTube. If you like the stream, if you want to watch the whole stream in its entirety, go to at Collect Call From on YouTube. The stream will be archived there, all of it. So if you miss something, you want to go back, you want to play it back, or you want to double check something, jump on at Collect Call From. Hey, thank you, Jimmy. This is my new favorite channel. Highly appreciated. Let me see. A10. Hey, gracias. This is good content. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys, tuning in. There's about 127 yesterday. I think we reached about 500 or 600 people on the stream. So if we could get to those numbers, that'll be highly greatly appreciated. I'm trying to make this social media thing, work for me. I'm tired of working. So if I could do this full time and get paid for it, it'll benefit me and my family. So would highly appreciate it. We'll all get something out of it. You guys will get the content you like, and I'll be able to stay home, if you will, just trying to live the American dream here, if you will. Let me see. HD Roll. Yeah, you can actually do extra work too. Gracias. Let me see. Jimmy put amazing work, bro. Gracias. RN 805. Keep doing this content, bro. Yeah, you know what? I've been doing it. I've been doing it for these border parole hearings. I've been doing for at least since like August, I want to say. Rah, Nevada, Reno. That's right. Thank you for the follow. Let me see. Somebody. Oh, that was you. Ash, thank you for the like. Highly appreciate it. Hey, if you put a comment up and I don't respond to it, my apologies. Just sometimes the chat goes really quick, so it's not that I'm ignoring you. Let me see. Do you do all states? So that's a good question right there. So not all states offer live streaming of their border parole hearings. There's about, I want to say, like about 10 or 11 different states that do, and I try to cycle through them. So today we're in Iowa. I'm also on my other computer right now. I'm doing another stream, but that one's on YouTube. We're doing Connecticut. So if you want to check that stream out also, I'm running 2 streams right now. Texas, they don't do border parole hearings like this. They just do them on paper. So Texas, I don't do. I'll tell you right now what the states that I do off of the top of my head. Okay, we do Connecticut, we do Iowa, we do Oregon, we do Louisiana. Hold on. Let me look at my cheat notes over here, because it's quite a few states that we do here. Let me see. Oh yeah, we do Utah. The only thing I don't like about Utah, they don't offer it the same day. We do Minnesota, Vermont. Let's see, who else do we got? We do Kansas, Ohio. So there's a whole laundry list of different states that we do. Ohio, yeah, but Ohio only does them like once every few months. There's one coming up for Ohio at sometime next week, I believe. I think it's like either the 10th or the 12th. Minnesota, I do Minnesota. We do have a few of them archived on YouTube if you want to check them out. What happened? Let me me see. Hey, hi, thank you for the follow. Hi, really appreciate it. So right now they're on a break right now. What happened to that last lady? So that last lady, they're releasing her to work release. So she is gonna go home. I don't know when. I live in Ohio, Christy. Okay, so we got one from. Let me check. I'm gonna check right now exactly what day Ohio is. So like that, hold up. So okay, so Ohio is gonna be on the 14th. So what are we on today? Today's the 7th. So in a week, 7 days. So be on the lookout. And next week, next Tuesday will be Ohio. All right. So, but they only do those like every like 2-3 months. Toledo, Ohio. That's right. Represent your city. Hey, if you guys right now that you said Toledo, if you guys don't mind sharing where you guys are tuning in from, what part of the country, if you're in the United States or if you're outside the United States, can you have NV Nevada? So Nevada, that's another one that I've been looking into. Illinois, we do Illinois. Those are live. The ones for Nevada, those are not live. But I'm trying to get into the prison to check if I could record them inside the prison. California, they don't offer them. Let me see. Everybody's representing right here. So we got let me see, Nikki. I don't even have to do parole board job. It has to be. Yeah, it does have to be hard. So I live in Illinois. Austin is in Tampa. Oops. Let me see. Mount Pleasant, Iowa. All right. Melissa's coming in from the 213, Los Angeles. Chico, California. Tulare County. Hey, man, I hear it's wild out there in Tulare County. We got
Hello,
Virginia,
Adam?
California,
Yes.
Tampa,
Okay,
California,
James here.
West Virginia.
Just wanting to know with Miss Winfrey,
This is
is
live.
there
Oh, no,
any
Nebraska does
other
not do
additional
live.
information added since you've submitted this?
No, sir, no changes to the plan. Re-verified everything this morning, and then she is still a
Connecticut,
diversion from the
Florida,
second
Karen
to the
from
Fresh
Florida.
Start Women's Facility in Des Moines.
Okay.
She was a diversion because that's where she's originally from, and all of her support resides in the
Omaha.
Des Moines area.
In the Des Moines area? Okay, okay.
Tejas.
That's all the questions I have. Colleagues, any questions that you have before we bring Ms. Winfrey in?
I don't think so.
Okay. Hey, you can go ahead and bring her in.
All right. So
Yes,
up
sir.
next, hey, if somebody could write down the name, so I'll pin it for the person just in case you guys want to, do some research in the background on Google. Unfortunately I can't because my hands are tied right here. I got too much stuff going on. RN, if you could pin it, if you at your leisure.
Good morning. Before we get started, can you give us your full name and state number, please?
Abria Renee Winfrey, 681-2273.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Winfrey. My name is James Moses. In the middle of us is Renee Schulte, and then to her left, which is to your right, is Jesse Rincon. We are the Board of Parole that will be doing your interview today. Know that this forum is a public forum, can be a public forum. Such members in the public and media can listen in. However, they are unable to participate. During the course of this interview, personal and confidential information may be discussed, including but not limited to your medical history, your mental health history, your treatment history, and other confidential information. Is that what you are to understand of this process?
Yes, sir.
And do you wish to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so how we'll go about this is to start off is I'm gonna ask you to go ahead and let us know kind of what took place that led you to being incarcerated. I may have a few more questions, I may not. There may be other information that come out, but what we'll have is my colleagues then will have a chance to be able to ask you some questions. We just ask you to be maybe brief, but still be able to explain and answer the questions. And then once they conclude, I may have some additional questions at the end, I may not. But then that's when we will give you a chance to share with us any, last bits of information that maybe came up along the way that you didn't get a chance to answer, you will get a chance to share that last bit of information to us before we go into what is called deliberations. When we go into deliberations, that's where you'll sit back, not engage us, but you'll sit back, listen to us communicate and talk about the interview to where we will come out with an outcome, a decision from this interview. And then from that, I will do my best to come back to you to try to explain everything and how that resulted. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So getting started, can you give us what took place, what was going on with you that led to you being incarcerated?
At that time, a little prior to, I was going through DHS and, I was dealing with, I had a boyfriend that was gang involved and my apartment ended up getting, people ended up shooting at my apartment. So I was basically living in hotels from that moment. And I just happened to be at my auntie's the night of the crime. And I get a text from my boyfriend telling me to come outside. I went outside. He had been with some of his friends. And I was thinking that they were dropping us off at a hotel and we ended up going to Ames. While we were in Ames, one of my co-defendants was communicating with Xavier, who was the victim of the crime, and set up a robbery. At that point, I didn't know about it. I ended up needing to charge my phone. I went into the apartment complex. I interacted with, there ended up being 4 boys in the house. I interacted with the 4 boys, and I was under the impression by the situation that she was there to prostitute. So I left out the apartment. I was sitting in the car and playing a Facebook game, and a little after
Thank you for the
that,
share.
Rio, who was my boyfriend at the time, ran out the apartment complex and was saying like, go, 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 drive. And well, I wear glasses. I didn't have my glasses on at that time. I couldn't see. So I tried to go, but there was like a median in the middle of the road at this apartment complex, and I kind of hit it. But by that time, T and Jordan, who were my other co-defendants, came outside, and me and Jordan ended up switching seats because I couldn't drive. At that time, there was a lot of energy going on in the car, and I'm like, what happened? What happened? And it was, I shot him, he killed him. It was a whole bunch, and I was trying to put it all together. And so I was like, hold on. And we ended up going to so I was like, well, take me home. So we are in Ames, and my family lived on East 27th and Court in Des Moines. And so I was like, take me home. But by then, T was like, oh no, you're coming with us. Because by then I knew what had transpired. We ended up going to an apartment. I think it was the Hickman Apartments on the west side. And that's when I
West
got
side?
all the details. And I began trying to basically cover up what happened. When I found out that Jordan was writing Xavier on Snapchat and the text messages, I told her to delete her Snapchat. I broke the phone that the text messages were sent on.
You forgot about the cloud.
As far as the car, I told him like, there's like basically all this evidence. And so I began trying to cover up the crime. T was saying that we all needed to like leave Des Moines together. And I was like, well, that really makes no sense for all of us to go with each other if I don't even I don't like you guys. And so that's when me and Rio ended up going to Minnesota. And at that time, T and Jordan went to, it was either Atlanta or Florida at that time. And that's when from that moment, I didn't really know that Xavier had died. We just knew that he had been shot. It wasn't until later that I actually found out.
That's what she's making
he
it
was
seem
shot.
like.
It went through his neck, all the details of it, but that's what happened.
And if I can ask this, were all of you or were you under the influence?
No,
No, this was all just of natural mindset, no alcohol or no drugs involved.
no.
Who planned this situation?
I
No
believe
say.
Jordan and T.
When I hear you say, I believe, what part of it, of you, was your, understanding or plan or sharing with Jordan and the other person?
I don't understand the question.
No Nintendo.
So you say you think, you believe Jordan and the other person?
Right.
Right. So what part of it was you? Just coming in as a, just as a participant? What was your role?
Trying to cover it up after I found out it happened.
All right. Right now, we want to go to there's a victim that is going to share, and I'm going to turn it over to our victim liaison, Heather Artis. And so we just want you to sit back, not engage or communicate, but just hear what's taking place.
Damn.
Thank you, James. Jenny, I'm going to ask you to accept this. I'm going to send you a request to accept to be promoted to panelist. Once you've accepted that, you can leave your camera off or turn it on. And please keep your statement directed towards the board and not the offender. And you can unmute and begin when you're ready, Jenny.
Heather Artist.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, we can see her.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
My name is Jenny Shepley. I'm representing Xavier Shepley. And I'm not for sure what to say, but I do have a little bit of feelings that
Is she in bed?
when you're in a situation like Albria was in, did you ever think one time of calling or telling somebody that this had happened? You have totally ruined my life. And I feel like I know I'm all over the map and I'm sorry. My basic thing is I need to know, because it's a tough, mean old world out here, that if you ever get yourself in a situation like this before, are you ever going to be honest and come up forward and tell the truth? I feel like you had a year before everybody got arrested to come forward and tell the truth, and there was nothing. Did you ever once think about Xavier's family and what they might be going through? Have you ever thought about all the counseling, all the frustrations, all the tears, all the losses that we have been through? And I feel like it's because of a decision that a person could have made. And I feel like that person could have been you. You were kind of stuck in the middle, in a rock and a hard place. But at the same time, after days, after months, maybe even 1 year, did you ever think about Xavier's family and the decisions that you people made, how that would affect my family and my son? Abria, do I believe that you deserve a second chance? Yes. But I want to make sure that you're rehabilitated enough to make the right decisions, because when you step outside this world, it's going to throw you curveballs and there's going to be temptations. And I want to know, and I want the board to make the best decision for you. Are you ready? to be able to make right and wrong decisions, and to make sure that what decisions you made was wrong and how it affected us. I'm sure that night Xavier wasn't supposed to be murdered, but when you bring a gun involved, that's kind of the outcome, what they're used for. Once again, what I'm nervous about is you say Des Moines is your area, but I work in Des Moines. What happens if we run into each other? I know your mother's from Marshalltown and you have a lot of family from Marshalltown, but so do I. What my question is to the board is what happens if we run into each other? How is each other going to act? I can't answer that. I don't know that, but I want to make sure Albria Winfrey is fully recovered and that it's going to be out in the community to make good decisions here on out. And how are we going to do this when I work in Des Moines? I have friends in Des Moines. She's in Des Moines. Obvious, you guys are going to make that decision. I don't have the answers. But I do know that you have to know right from wrong. And Miss Winfrey had at least a year to come forward, and she never did. She claims she didn't do anything wrong. All she did was try to clean up the crime scene, but making that choice, you're telling us that you weren't under drugs, you're not under any alcohol, and you hop in a car and then all of a sudden the next thing you know you're cleaning up a crime scene. I mean, did you ever once think about Xavier and his family and what your choices did to us? And that's all I have to say, I guess. I'm just in shock, and my mind is in fog, and my life will never be the same. And she gets a second chance, but he doesn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm now going to put you back as an attendee, and you can continue to sit back and watch the rest of the interview. Thank you for sharing your statement.
Yep.
Very good. Go.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you, Jenny. Ms. Winfrey, now hearing what you just heard, what comes to mind? What are your thoughts?
I know I was wrong. There can't be a right in a situation where somebody passed away. At the time, no, I wasn't thinking about Xavier. I wasn't thinking about the family. I wasn't thinking about any of that. Since then, I've thought about all that. And when I first even got locked up to prison, anything, it was hard going through or dealing with any of that. And I didn't really want to take accountability for my part in it. I didn't want to come to terms with what happened or any of that. And I don't know if it, because I have had some, majors and minors, and I don't know if it was that opened my eyes, that I don't want it to be like a life wasted or anything like that. Like I was just like throwing, like I didn't care I didn't care. I didn't want it to come off like I didn't care. So I started making different decisions and making different choices and with my actions and coming to terms with what happened. During that time, my sisters actually got shot and paralyzed during that time. One of my brothers ended up getting killed. And that's when it really came I came to terms with it. Like this family is in the same predicament as I'm in, but I did it to them, you know, I participated in something that took somebody away from their family. And like I said, no, at the time, I did not think about the family. I did not think about, Xavier. I didn't think about none of that. And until it hit home and I wanted to be like, I didn't want his life to be wasted and that it was real. Like, I didn't want it to be like, oh, she committed this crime and she comes to prison and oh, she don't care. She's going to the hole. She's doing this, she's doing that. And when my eyes were open, I've made totally, completely different choices in how I behave, how I react. And I don't even put myself in circumstances like that. So, that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Winfrey. I'm gonna conclude my questions for now. I may come back later. But I'm gonna see if my colleagues have something to share or questions for you. With that being said, Renee, you have anything for Ms. Winfrey?
I do. So we clarified that there weren't any substances involved for that part of the crime, but do you use any substances? Have you used any substances in your past?
Yes, I've smoked marijuana and tried cocaine, ecstasy.
Yayo, Molly.
And what are your plans related to using drugs moving forward?
Not to use them.
Okay. And then from a mental health perspective, have you ever had any struggles with mental health?
Yes, ma'am. I'm diagnosed with ADHD. And I just take my meds. I think I always, even on the outside, I'll feel like I'm okay. And so I'll just stop taking my meds because I feel like I'm okay at the time. And then when I feel like manic or something, I'll like start taking them again. But I just stay taking my meds.
Okay. And is that your plan moving forward to continue medication?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I also understand that you've taken some college courses. Can you talk to me about what you've taken and kind of what direction you'd like to go related to your education?
I've taken a lot. I'm 6 credits away from my associates. So I've taken a lot of classes. Right now I like math and science are like something I really, really enjoy. And so I don't know what exactly I want to do. But I've always wanted to be an accountant. And so
I could see that.
that I'm gonna see, I don't know if with my background, if I can even do that, but I was gonna look into that as I continue. But yes, I'm gonna continue my education. I want to go as high as I can go with school. I've always really been interested in school and I just kind of let different situations take me away from that.
Okay. And before you came on this morning, we were talking with your counselor about you moving into the Des Moines area because that's where your family and your support is. Can you talk to me about that support? Who do you have in the area that would be considered supportive of you?
My dad lives in Des Moines. My 2 sisters also live in Des Moines. I have a brother that lives in Des Moines. My children live in Des Moines. Most of my family on my father's side actually is from Des Moines. I grew up in Des Moines.
Okay. So that's your intention then to be here with your supports. And then what did you want to do for work?
Customer service.
Customer service.
Yes, ma'am.
I wouldn't trust
And
her
do you
with
have
a
something
puppy.
lined up or a place you think you'd look?
Not like off bat. Since I've been here, I've actually been talking with Iowa Workforce, and so but they can't start like putting in applications or anything until I get an actual date. And I've also participated in Circa. And when they come, they'll try to direct it to the field that I want to go in. And most of my real legal jobs I've had are customer service, and I like dealing with people and just that kind of atmosphere. So that's kind of where I just wanted to go to.
Okay.
Thank you so much for answering my questions.
Thanks, Renee. Now Jesse.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, I'm Jesse. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you. So on the day of the incident, it was your boyfriend that picked you up, correct? Was it your boyfriend that picked you up on the day of the incident? Or who was it that picked you up?
So Anthony Jordan picked up him, and then he called me and told me to come outside to them. So it wasn't him with the car.
Okay, so my question is, do you think the incident would have happened if you would not have went?
Yes,
You think it would have happened either way?
yes.
And why was Xavier marked as the target?
I guess Jordan had already been having conversation with him, and it was said that he had a lot of marijuana and money, and so that's why I believe that he was targeted for the crime.
I appreciate that answer. So what can you tell me about Circa? What do you know about it?
It's a program that will help people I feel like integrate back into the real world. Mine was, I guess it's directed at different fields. Mine was customer service with the Dale Carnegie. So it's just, I don't know, it helps you. For me, it made me be more confident. It gave me better communication. It's not, I don't feel like it's just based for finding a job. I feel like it helps you find who you are. It talks about our personality and how we would like to be communicated to. Like it tells you, it helps you, I don't know, it helps you figure out who you are, come more into who you want to be and who you are, and help you find that so you can figure out what you want to do later in your life.
And my last question for you, what age were you when you first started getting in trouble with the law?
Don't know. Don't recall.
Middle school.
What was some of those crimes or you get in trouble for?
I was just getting in fights at school.
Fights?
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, what were you on probation for?
Fighting.
For fighting as well? Okay. I have no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
How do you guys
Thank
feel?
you, Jesse. I
guys
have
think they'll
actually no
parole her?
further questions, Ms. Winfrey. So this is that time where if you felt there was some additional information that you wanted to share that you didn't get a chance to share, this would be that time to do so before we go into deliberations.
I just want to say, I feel like I have really changed
She'll
as a
never come
person,
out.
my outlook
Denied
on
7 more
life,
years.
and the decisions that I've made. I've always been real prideful. I've always been kind of like
Not ready.
I don't care about, I'm gonna say I've always been selfish in my actions and with what I do. And by no means am I proud of the crime, but I am proud that it has made me into who I am today and how I've grown and changed. Without me coming to prison, I don't feel like I would have changed. I feel like I could have been in a way different predicament or way different circumstances. Whether it's being in prison a lot longer than I've been or being dead. And so I feel like it has really, I've grown up here, you know, I've matured, I've come into who I want to be, I've learned my goals, I've learned values, I've learned to be confident with myself, I've learned to, you know, speak up when something's wrong, right, and different, it doesn't matter, say something, if you can. And I feel like just by saying something to somebody, you can change something.
See something, say something.
I'm in a situation with my sister's friend's mom, I know now that no matter what you do, they're going to remember exactly what you say. And that's going to stick with them no matter what your actions show. What you say is also going to take a part in anything that you do, really.
Right, Eva?
But I've grown up. I'm not
up.
the same person that I was then.
Mm-mm.
And I feel like I've shown that since being here. I've shown that when I came, you know, I was lost, I was confused, I was angry, I was every emotion in the book. And
I wonder what the guy next to him is
I've grown
thinking.
from who
Next to
that
her
is,
thinking.
and came into what I want to be, what I want to do with myself.
Black Hawk. No emotions, new year, new me.
Thank you, Ms. Winfrey. Now it's time for you to just
Laughing
go
out
ahead and
loud,
sit
right.
back, not engage, but you'll get a chance to hear us deliberate, communicate on
I
this
personally,
interview.
I
And then
don't
I
think it
will
looks
come
too
back
good
to you,
for
as
her.
I said, and let you know what that result would be. Okay?
He was thinking
Yes,
it was
thank
for
you.
lunch.
Colleagues, anyone wants to share their?
I can
He's
go.
thinking, stop talking.
I thought she had a good interview. She's done a lot since she's been in.
She's going to get released, right? So self-made
6
19.
credits away from her AA is
He's
pretty
like, why am I
astonishing,
here?
actually, to take part in that
Eleanor
and to stay
Ramirez.
consistent with that. I think her outlook has
Self-made thinks that she's
changed
going to
from
get
what she
out.
was as well. She is looking to go to
Harvard?
Yale.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I'm good with that. I think that'll be a good transition. And I think with her skill set and Circa's real involved at the Ford
Skill
as
set.
well, or at the Fresh Start as well. So I'm going to be in agreement with the release, the DOC recommendation, which would be a WRG C11P,
Mhm.
the 48 for substance abuse, the mental health, med compliance, and the 50A.
Mhm. Any 20B? Or you're okay?
New here,
I'm okay
A.
unless somebody sees
Welcome,
something
Brad.
different.
Okay,
Brad.
it's just a question.
Yeah.
So,
No, I
anyhow,
appreciate that.
yep. So, okay, Renee?
Yeah. I thought this was a good interview. We've reviewed a lot of her background and history, as well as the assessments, and it does appear as though she's used her time well. And I mean, and getting all of those credits for education is impressive. And does appear to have grown up and is a different person than when she first got here. This is a serious crime, and there are co-defendants who are serving much, much, much longer time, one of which is for life for the actual murder in this situation. And so she was more of an accomplice in this situation. And so because of that, I'm going to be able to support the recommendation for work release to Des Moines. And I agree with the coding with mental health, substance use, medication compliance, and that 50A.
Okay, all right. Well,
Okay,
hey,
okay.
thank you, Renee. And that was actually alluding to part of the reason why I was asking if we wanted to look at the 20B, for no early discharge. So, so in essence, I will go back and give Ms. Winfrey our results.
Man,
Hey,
hey,
thank you
I
both.
wouldn't even want her to be my Uber
Ms.
driver.
Winfrey, as you got a chance to hear both my colleagues, but you didn't get a chance to hear my thoughts thus far. I thought your interview went very well. I think you have definitely some new intentions from what your background was previously. I think you've gained a lot and have worked a lot. As one of my colleagues said, to be 6 credits from your AA says something about your intent for education and looking to further your education. You talked about finances, controller potentially, potential education, maybe to pursue a CPA, since you are very good or you feel very good with math. As all things is a
She's a
possibility,
brainiac.
if that is your intent and you continue to make the changes along this journey to, build relationships, true relationships with people that feel that you have the capacity to do so. I also like, even though one of my favorite questions to ask people is the values, and I didn't get what your values were, but I got a kind of an understanding of what some of your values are. So it was
Don't
nice
tell.
to hear you say that you have some that helps lay down some of your foundation of growth. So in essence, with everything that's being said, I do also agree with my colleague. I'm also in agreement with DOC's recommendation. So how that will transpire is that we're looking at the WRG C11P for your release. We're also looking at the 40A with substance abuse, mental health, and medication compliance, wanting you to continue, doing the things that will help you to continue to grow. as you navigate through your journey to stay on that righteous path from previous choices and decisions. And then the last thing would be the 50A prohibition. We don't want you in liquor stores. We don't want you in establishments whose primary source of income is alcohol or related or liquor related. We know that they may have, restaurants with bars, but we don't want you to frequent those places that, really income is generated based off of the alcohol and stuff. We don't
Thank you,
feel that
lovely
that is
Gigi.
the best atmosphere or place for you to be. Other than that, that concludes this interview, and we want to wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Hey, if you
All
have
right,
guys
thanks,
haven't done so, please
ICIW.
do
We'll see
so
y'all next month. Have a good
next
one.
month.
All right,
If you haven't done so,
Thank you.
please do so. Hit that
Take
subscribe
care.
button. It's free 99, doesn't cost you anything. Also, if you know a friend, hey, so they just cut it. It's over. This one's over. But if you guys want to continue, I think that we still have some going on in Connecticut, or I could plug into the Connecticut one. Please hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna shut this one down really quick for like a minute or two. I'm gonna get the other one ready, and then we'll be in Connecticut. All right. So I'm gonna get some water and start a new stream, and we'll be right back. All right. And always remember, follow. Only you. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. You could help us, get to that 20,000 mark. There's 132 of you guys in here. So just hit that subscribe button, all right? Come on, what's up? Hook me up. Please and por favor. All right? And with that being said, you are watching You Have a Collect Call From, or also known as at Collect Call From. And what do I say? Life's like a candle. Once you blow it out, it lights out. And with that, we're out temporarily. We'll be back, all right? Right after these messages.
Because your GPS went off, so your whereabouts weren't unknown. That's how the violation read, was that your whereabouts were unknown because your GPS, it would never